All right, guys, today we're going to get into the weeds a little bit. Okay, this is going to be from the fringe scientists that are basically hidden from the public's view. These people have very different information as far as relativity is concerned, Einstein's theories, things about the sun that you don't know about, that it's actually indeed hollow, much like the toroidal planets of our solar system. And this is the kind of content that is way out there away from the public domain. So I was really excited to share this with you. I've been digging recently. That's why I haven't been posting as much. I've been really doing some in the weeds research, and I found this gentleman right here. He does great work on Tesla's work. I'm going to go ahead and post more videos about this gentleman here. His name's Eric Dollard. He's a scientist. He's very smart. Okay. Um, let's go ahead and get into what he's saying a little bit so maybe I can do some commentary. I'm not a scientist, okay? I'm just going to say that. I freaking flunked math, okay? But this stuff I understand a lot more because honestly, I think because it's more closer to being right than what the typical calculus and all that. They just make everything so complicated, and I think the school systems do that on purpose. This stuff shouldn't be complicated because the smarter you are at something and the better you are at something, the more simpler and more simplified you should be able to make something for the general populace. And this is where I come in. I'm very good at understanding heaps of information and disseminating that to people in a way that's easily understandable and digestible, and not trying to pie in the sky you with these big words and phrases and da da da, because it really doesn't matter anyway. Those are all, you should be able to make things super simple and explain it to, a third grader, right? So let's get into it, and I'll commentate when I can.
22-year-long solar cycles of deadness and activity and deadness and activity. They started in the early Renaissance. And they peaked out around World War II, and now that we're in cycle 24, the sun's going dead, and it's not creating an ionosphere. It's like the solar cycles are ending. So today the solar flux is 140 something. It should be 200 and something. So the sun's only operating at half power right now for this part of the cycle. So you don't have the ionosphere that you need in order to communicate to other parts of the world. It's all dissipated.
So ham radio is dying.
Well, it made it so there was no ham radio available for a year during the minimum of the cycle. Now we're at the maximum, and the maximum is no better than a minimum. So now the question is when it goes into the minimum in the next 7 years, how dead is the sun going to get? The last minimum, it got record dead. The solar flux never dropped below 60, ever. This time it went down to 58. And you couldn't communicate via the ionosphere. So the sun can be reconfiguring for a cold, dead cycle, like in the Dark Ages. There's a popular book written on the subject called Jupiter Effect. It's actually fairly accurate.
The Jupiter effect.
Yeah, it was about the total planetary alignment in 1980. And the solar flares that it was predicted to create, according to the RCA theory. And the solar flares happened just like they were predicted. Enough finally trip off Mount St. Helens. Solar flux went up to over 400. The Earth actually wobbled on its orbit from the coronal mass ejections hitting it.
When was this?
1980, October 1980.
And believe it or not, in 2012, we actually had three CREs, corona mass injections, come in waves at us. This is what the Mayan calendar was predicting. I believe it happened in July 23rd of 2012, okay? And judging by the Mayan calendar, it actually ended somewhere in their calendar. It ended around December 23rd, somewhere around there of 2020 or of 2012. Okay, so the Mayans would have been right. Trust me, guys. If we would have been hit by three corona mass injections, the world as we know it would be gone. The airplanes in the sky would fall down. The transformers that are attached to our power lines, those are filled with oil. Those metal boxes that you see, those are filled with oil to dilute the electric. They would basically be napalm just exploding because of the surge. We do not surge protect our power lines. This is the most vulnerable um, situation for us because we don't take precautionary measures against things like EMP or CRE. Okay, a lot of the people in Congress during this time, they actually went underground in a base in Virginia. I forget the name of it. I can find that and attach it. But and they didn't tell anybody. So that gives you an impression about where they're at as far as them caring about you. Okay, like I said, the airplanes would fall out of the sky. Your cell phones wouldn't work, toilets wouldn't work, sanitation wouldn't work. We're talking about catastrophic levels all over the planet. Okay, most of the human race would be wiped out in the first week. Okay, people that need insulin would die. People that were on life support power would be gone. You wouldn't be able to communicate. You wouldn't be able to see your family. You'd be the best. The It would just be completely and total destruction. Okay, there would be looters, rioters, and there would be people starving for food, trying to. It would be like Fallout. That would literally be Fallout, like the Fallout 3 series and all of that. This is not a joke. There's been several agencies, like 20 some agencies, like the CIA, NSA, um, let's see. NATO did a study on this. This is a reality. And what happened was, and you ask why didn't this happen? Well, believe it or not, the three CREs, corona mass ejections, which is basically big solar flares that the sun releases, okay? They have waves of electromagnetic energy that wash over our planet. And so it would be like three EMPs back to back, boom, 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 and they missed our planet by 100,000 miles, which is like from here to the moon. So in space speaking, 100,000 miles compared to it went like 14 billion miles or something like that from the sun. Um, Compared to that, and we only missed it by 100,000 miles, is extremely, extremely uh, that the chances of that happening are very unlikely. We should have all died in 2012, and this is what all those movies and stuff were made about. They wouldn't have anything to make about if it, wasn't prophesized. So, um, a little bit about that. I'm under the impression that either our military industrial complex assisted us with some kind of diversion. We were able to divert those waves away from the planet just enough to save the planet from this, or we had ET involvement. Now, I haven't heard of any of each, but obviously there was intervention that day because if there wasn't, we wouldn't be here today being able to make YouTube videos, and you wouldn't be able to be here watching them. So that's just a little bit about the power of CREs. They weren't as big of a deal back in the day during the Renaissance times and the Dark Ages. You know why? Because they never had electronics. They never had cell phones, radios, cars, airplanes. And we're so reliant on electricity in our modern era that any kind of electric surge would wipe us out. So this is just a little bit about the sun and what it's capable of, and how it hasn't really affected us in history up to this point. Because I think there was one in New York that hit us, and it like shut off New York, um, and then luckily, funnily enough, like 9 months later, a lot of people were born. That's because people were having sex when the lights were out or whatever. But and that's a joke, sorta. But we weren't as technologically advanced as we were. This was in the one that was in New York was like the early 1900s. So it is way more serious now that we have our technological advancements. So let's see what he says about this further.
We knew the ceremony.
It controls all the frequencies. So if you don't know what the sun's doing, you don't know what frequencies to use. That's why RCA started radio astrology. You have to know what the sun's doing, and the planets tell you what the sun's doing. So RCA gave me the equipment, Sonoma State provided me with the place to do it, and the Cosmos provided me with the total planetary alignment. So I was the guy with the equipment and everything right there as the thing happened. I studied the whole event over the couple of years that the whole solar cycle built into this alignment. There's no inside structure.
Is it hollow?
Yeah, there's only a surface. There's nothing in.
That is highly contested among the scientific circles of the modern day science circles. It's actually been said that the Earth is hollow as well, and it's not hollow in the sense that it's just like it rings, like that, which the Moon is. They've been able to prove that, but which is kind of hidden too. I kind of don't really know what's hidden and what's not anymore. um, but so the reason for that is, as far as I know, is that they're toroidal in nature, okay? Your body is toroidal as well. You have energy centers from your center mass, and they are ejecting from the top and feeding back into the bottom. This is what is known as your aura field, okay? And you have a vortex of energy that's spiraling down inside the top of your head, and this can't be seen. This is metaphysical, but it's very real. And so the planets have the same uh, you're a microcosm of the planet. The planets have the same type of scenario. They have large holes at the tops and bottom of them where the toroidal fields are flowing one into each other. Okay, and that is what the flower of life is. That is what all these metaphysical geometrical symbols that you see. Those are 2D representations of a 2D and 3D representations of a 4D torus. Okay, everything is spiraling. Everything is vibrating. Okay. Um, and so, guys, if you like this type of information, please subscribe. It would really mean a lot to me. I really appreciate those who have subscribed in the past week, past year. It really helps the channel, and I just can't thank you enough so much. So I will go ahead and wait while I'm watching you subscribe, and I'm going to zoom in. Okay. With that, thank you so much. Let's go ahead and continue this video.
Inside.
Is the sun actually, do you believe, busting in on
It's
itself?
not burning anything. There's no fusion in the sun. That's well understood.
Proven.
Yeah, well, there's not the way to prove that there is any. It's only in the flares that you get fusion. That's why all the X-rays. The flares, the arcs, and the X-rays, and the microwaves, and whatever result of fusion in the arcs. There's no fusion in the sun. They don't know how the sun works.
So traditional science circles, they claim that the sun is a fusion device. Okay, it combines hydrogen and helium, and when you combine hydrogen and helium, you're able to get positive, more energy. Okay, so this is what he said is very, very, very contested among mainstream science. Okay, and this is where the Teslas of the world come in because they're under the impression that to get large amounts of energy, the way that we're working with electric now, we are working in physical, okay? So that's like the traditional physical electric, coal, oil, and gas. You're using materials to in the physical realm, but true electricity is permeating. It's called the ether, and this is the fringe scientists that get buried because their science defies our personal reality of physical nature. Okay, he right now is claiming that the sun gets its energy from a different dimension, which is the fourth dimension, what have you, a different octave of vibration. And it is relaying that information onto the physical realm that we see. However, you can't really prove that because you can't see light. You can only see things that are illuminated by light. So this is a very interesting uh, dichotomy that's happened here with the sun and this type of information.
Why do you, what's special, how does the sun make light?
It's a transformer. Transforms from some other dimension. It's not burning anything. It doesn't have to. It's a converter.
Of what?
I don't know. Nobody knows. But that's what it does. That's the only thing it can do because that's how everything works.
Transforming
Yep.
from another dimension.
Yeah, you could say it's taking energy from another dimension, counter space. There's no energy, actually. Most of it you can't even measure in outer space or see.
You can't see.
No, you can't see the sun in free space.
So the sun is not visible in outer space.
Not in free space. It's only invisible when gross matter becomes involved, like the Earth's atmosphere and envelope and the surface of the moon or whatever. That
Yep.
makes the light.
Yep.
Otherwise, there is no light. You can see the moon, you can see the Earth, but you
Yep.
can't see the sun or you can't see the stars.
Yeah.
But you can see the planets and the
Yeah,
satellite.
right.
Yep.
You can
The
see
reaction to
material
it.
objects, but you cannot see the sources of light. There is no light until there's a material object.
To reflect on.
Yeah.
So that means there's no time delay. So the whole time delay thing is meaningless. It doesn't take light years. There are
Yep.
no light years
Yep.
because there's no light. So that means that the light you see from the distant stars isn't 4 million years old. It could be only minutes old. It could be instantaneous. All the theories collapse when you can't see the stars in outer space.
This is where you log the solar flares.
Well, whatever's going on in the day, the solar flux, the atmospheric pressure, the cloud types, any other particular interesting information. But these are the positions of the hurricanes. So this was E, whatever that one was. I don't bother with the names. There's letters. These are the ones. These occurred off of Baja.
Baja. Just recently?
Yeah, well, this was in July. So that stuff moves up here and starts the thunderstorms. Yeah.
So,
Well, nuclear fission is a religion.
it's
It's a
destructive,
law.
yeah.
The world must believe. That's all there is. The sun is an atomic bomb burning in the sky. If you don't believe that, you're going to go to jail.
Okay, now, your theory on the sun, I want to get.
Hollow.
So every planetary object is hollow, right?
All hollow. Well, the sun's definitely hollow because I studied the sun for 4 years straight.
This is a
And
question.
it's obviously hollow.
Okay.
And the solar, the sunspots are holes that allow you to see inside.
Really?
Yeah, it's dark inside. The sun is well understood in radio physics and studying the ionosphere and sunspots and all that stuff that the sun does not operate by fusion. They do not know how the sun operates. The fusion only comes out of the arcs because of the current density. That's where the hydrogen fusion occurs, is in the actual arcs between the flares. The sun itself is not a fusion device.
So the fusion is all in the effect of the
It's a
flare.
converter. Yeah, the sun is a converter from another dimensionality into this dimensionality. And obviously, if you can't see it in outer space, the conversion's not complete until it hits the Earth's atmosphere or other physical object, and then it finally converts to electromagnetic
When
light.
it hits the ozone layer, it does.
Well, the
something.
Earth's envelope.
The Earth's envelope.
Yeah, Earth's envelope is undefined.
Undefined.
Yeah,
But
you have to get in the Wilhelm Reich about that. Like we were talking about how you can't see the stars anymore.
Yeah. So the sun, would you say it makes its quote unquote energy through some electrical etheric process?
Yeah, because of its voltage, its
So-
position.
Would you call it some kind of etheric lamp? A lantern?
Yeah,
of
it's
some
like a
kind?
giant Tesla lamp.
You know, in the
Converter.
The sun is a converter.
Yeah. It's not burning anything.
So it's an etheric electrical
Yeah, converter.
And
It's converting from primary force to secondary force.
the conversion is complete once it hits the upper atmosphere. Of the
Yeah,
Earth.
then once the emission interacts with physical matter, then it reverts to its reduced form, the waste product, which is heat and light and mechanical activity. But it doesn't start off like that, and its origin is undefined because it comes from what people like to say another dimension, counter space.
Sunspots are holes inside.
Holes in the hollow sun. There's a photosphere that generates the light, and it's contiguous. It's not contiguous. It's little things that move around.
Contiguous.
Yeah, it's an arrangement of little glowing spots, and it's dark in between. It's a veil, and that's where the illumination of the sun originates. Is in that veil. It doesn't come from the inside. There's no nuclear furnace in the middle. There's none of that shit, and that's understood. When I studied this stuff in Sonoma State, that's understood. But they have to continue this popular image that the sun is a nuclear bomb burning in the sky.
Scarcity.
Because
Combustion.
everything's got to work on destruction.
Exactly. Burning
Right.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the caloric theory. That's another.
Yeah,
big lot of
whatever. It has to
bullshit.
be the laws of thermodynamics. You have to pay.
So
It
you
has to
have
be a
no-
meter. If you can't put a meter on it, it's not real.
Do you have any
That's exactly right. If you can't put a meter on it, it's not real. Okay. Uh, yeah. So this is now this is what Tesla was working on. This type of electricity. This is electricity that's permeating the universe via the ether, via the planet the toroidal sphere, he was tapping into the innate forces that electricity masses that run through our Earth sphere. And this is why he was shut down by JP Morgan. If you can't put a meter on it, we don't want it, okay? They're trying to sell you information. Utility companies have been doing this for a long time. They want to control you, and that's just the reality, okay? So your taxpayer money is going to who knows where, and it's not good, okay? So with that, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for subscribing, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.